Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with another controversial topic or discussion. Now, I was thinking the other day, listening to the Carter 2, Lil Wayne's Carter 2, and then I listened to pieces of Carter 3, but just being a fan of both, I was thinking to myself, which one is actually the better album? Now, when I talk about better albums, I always have to preface or I have to narrow it down to what am I talking about because best is so generalized, so subjective. Now, I'm not talking about in terms of sales because that's obvious that Carter 3 is going to be better because the Carter 3 obviously sold more, had more commercial success. He had more esteemed or reputation or credibility built up by the Carter 3. So, of course, the Carter 3 is going to be better in sound, in sales. But I'm talking about sonically, which album is the better album, which one had the better rapping, that type of totality. Because, that the sales is, that you can't really argue with sales, the sales and the numbers. So, um, but which one is going to be the better album? And most Lil Wayne fans are going to debate this because the Carter 2, of course, is was released in 2005, and then the Carter 3 was released in 2008. So they were about 3 years apart. Lil Wayne was in two different spaces on those albums. The Carter 2, he was just building up his reputation, starting to put out there that he is the greatest rapper alive before he actually deserved that title. He was putting it out there, kind of foreshadowing. But by the Carter 3, we already knew he was the best rapper alive. He had done, you know, thousands of features, tons of mixtapes, and features from all different genres, whether it be, pop music, R&B, rap. He was all over the place. Latin music. He was doing all type of music back then on all kind of features and destroying all the features. And he still does that to some degree today. But back then he was in his prime back in '08 and '05 in the Carter 2, he was still building up a reputation, getting his name out there. The art and the talent was still there, but he just didn't have the acclaim that he did on Carter 3. But I felt like the Carter 3, he reached his peak as an artist, so he started to like that's the highest he was ever gonna get was the Carter 3, because there was no way you can get higher than that. To get higher than that, you would reach levels that no other rapper had. You would probably reach Michael Jackson status to some degree. Um, Now I think the Carter 3, well, I know the Carter 3 had better collaborations because he had Jay-Z and T-Pain and Babyface and Robin Thicke and Busta Rhymes, Joel Santana, Cassidy. He had a lot of great features on the Carter 3. He did have Robin Thicke on both projects, ironically, but the Carter 3 definitely had bigger hits as well because it had a Millie and Got Money, Lollipop, Mrs. Officer. You know the catalog. He had all the top stuff on there. And then of course the bigger budgets were on the Carter 3 as well because he had Cool and Dre and Kanye and Bangladesh and Swiss Beats and Alchemist, all of these great producers. Um, and of course, we talked about this earlier. The sales are not close because the Carter 3 sold 6 mil, while the Carter 2 only sold 2 mil. But I think this debate is rooted in artistry and the quality of rap performance, I think. Um, so despite the commercial success that Carter 3 had, I think that Carter 2 had a better rap performance. And I'll get into that right now about I think he was hungry on the Carter 2 and he had a lot to prove. So he was out to prove that. And he didn't need a lot of features or he didn't need the best producers, but he gave you the best rap performance because by the time he did Carter 3, he had put so many miles on that car or had so much tread on the tires that I think that he lived up to expectations on that album. But I believe the Carter 2, he was rapping a lot better with less. And that's the key. He was doing more with less on the Carter 2 because, you know, the best rapper alive, Receipt, Hustler Music. Hustler Music is one of his most underrated songs, and I think it's one of the best rapping songs that he ever put forth. Um, just coming from a R&B type of perspective and then putting a rap spin on it as well. Receipt is another one that I liked. Even Lock and Loaded um, with Corrupt. So he had artists like Corrupt that you didn't realize that was on that song, but his rapping was just so phenomenal back then that it doesn't compare to Carter 3. Now, Carter 3 had a lot of pop commercial success, but as far as pure hip hop, I believe Lil Wayne stayed consistent and didn't do all those features and do all those songs and mixtapes. I believe he would still be even more afloat today and in better light today, and maybe even had a chance to do that Super Bowl. But he had reached a level so high on the Carter 3 that you can only go down from there. So that's one of the gift and curses of having such run like he had. Uh, Even though I'm pretty sure he wouldn't trade that for the world because it was one of the probably the best times of a career that a rapper could ask for or have. But only way you can go up is down from there. You know, similar to what Anelli did, or um, artists like that. See, Jay Z and Nas have had such a long career because they never had a peak like that. They had times where they were the best rappers and things like that, but they never had that run like Lil Wayne had. And when Lil Wayne had that run, it was just the beginning of the end because, the expectations are going to be so high. You didn't said everything you needed to say. You done done so many songs and put out so much content that the voice is going to get stale. The name is going to be out there. You pretty much kind of burned out your welcome. Um, But nevertheless, this Carter 2 project, I believe, was his better project and the best project of his career because even the Mob song that was supposed to be like the intro, they really didn't have a hook. That song was phenomenal. If you go back and listen to the Mob is probably one of the best songs of his discography. And I think this album has at least four of his top 10 of his career as far as rapping goes, not as far as like hits that's on the radio. Um, the B sides on this album is phenomenal. You can make a greatest hits off the B sides from this album. But um, I did love this album and um, a lot. Even Grown Man with Currency, when Currency was starting to just make his name big, and he was signing Young Money back then or Cash Money, and um, but yeah, I think the Carter 2 is head over heels better rapping wise than Carter 3. Of course, Carter 3 is going to be the album to get more spins because it has more um, has a bigger budget and things like that. But far as rapping goes, which you can't pay for, um, he definitely did a better job rapping on the Carter 2. So tell me your thoughts about the Carter 2 or Carter 3 and which one you think is better. Until next time, I'll see you next time.